They told you Isis was a mother goddess, a loyal wife, a figure of gentle, weeping sorrow. They gave you a sanitized, domesticated version of one of the most powerful forces in the universe. They reduced the great magician to a grieving widow, the queen of heaven to a footnote in her husband's story. And they did it for a reason. Because the true Isis is not gentle, she is not passive, and she is not a supporting character in anyone's myth. She is the throne of power itself, the source of all magic, the fierce, unrelenting intelligence that can resurrect gods from the dead. The true Isis is the embodiment of a divine feminine power so sovereign and so dangerous to the established order that they have spent thousands of years trying to make you forget her. But you can feel her stirring, in your intuition that screams when the world lies, in your fierce love that would burn worlds to protect what is sacred, in the quiet, humming power you feel when you finally trust your own inner knowing. That is not just you, that is her, the veiled goddess, the great mother, the queen of the stars, rising again within you. This is not a history lesson. This is an activation, a re-remembering of the feminine power they tried to bury, but which can never be destroyed. Because Isis is not just a myth. She is the magic that holds reality together. And once you reclaim your connection to her, you become a force that no system can ever control again. To understand the power of Isis, you must first understand her name. In the ancient tongue, her name meant throne, not she who sits on the throne. She is the throne. This is the secret key. The throne is the seat of all legitimate power, the foundation of sovereignty, the point of stability from which order is born. The masculine principle, the king, Osiris or Horus, cannot rule without her. Power does not flow to her. It flows from her. She is the source, the vessel, the legitimizer of all divine authority. This is a truth so profound and so threatening to patriarchal systems that it had to be obscured. They needed you to believe that power was a masculine principle, force, dominance, control, and that the feminine was meant to be its passive subject. Isis shatters that lie. Her very name declares that without the foundation of feminine wisdom, intuition, and magical power, all masculine authority is illegitimate, hollow, and destined to fall into the chaos of Set. And her power was not hope or prayer. It was Hika, the ancient Egyptian word for magic. But Hika is not superstition or wishful thinking. It is the conscious application of universal law. It is the understanding that the universe is a field of vibration, and that a focused mind, an aligned will, and a knowing heart can weave new patterns into that field. Isis does not beg the gods for a miracle. She becomes the miracle. She is the master alchemist, the weaver of reality. This is demonstrated in one of her most potent myths, the story of how she learned the secret name of Ra. Ra, the great sun god, the source of all creation, held a secret name that gave him his power. No one knew it but Isis, in her unquenchable thirst for knowledge and power, devised a plan. She gathered the spittle of the aging Ra, mixed it with earth, and fashioned a serpent that bit him, poisoning him with a fire that only she could quench. In his agony, Ra was forced to whisper his secret name to her, and in that moment, Isis absorbed his power. This is not a tale of simple trickery. It is a profound teaching about the nature of power. The secret name is a metaphor for the true vibrational essence of a thing. To know something's true name is to understand its core frequency, and to understand that frequency is to have influence over it. Isis teaches that true magic, true power, comes from seeking hidden knowledge, from looking beneath the surface, from having the courage and the cunning to uncover the fundamental laws of reality. She is the ultimate initiate, the eternal seeker of truth. And this is the power that lives within you. Your intuition, your gut feelings, your inexplicable moments of just knowing. That is the voice of Isis. It is your own inner magician sensing the hidden frequencies of the world around you. The system has taught you to doubt this sense, to call it illogical, irrational, feminine, in a derogatory way. They did this because your intuition is a threat. It cannot be controlled by external data. It cannot be manipulated by propaganda. It is a direct line to the truth, and a person who trusts their inner knowing above all else is a person who cannot be deceived. When you feel that pull toward esoteric knowledge, when you find yourself digging for the truths that lie behind the official story, you are walking the path of Isis. When you start trusting your gut over the headlines, you are wielding her magic. When you realize that your focused intention can shift the energy of a room, a situation, or your own body, you are stepping into your power as a creator, just as she did. They reduced her to a mother and a wife because they did not want you to remember that she was, first and foremost, a magician of limitless power, the keeper of the lost words, the one who knows the secret names of the universe. And she is waiting for you to remember that you know them too. Some truths are too sacred for a world built on the suppression of the feminine. The practical mysteries of Isis, the rituals of remembering, are what we are dedicated to restoring in our free newsletter, Insights Academy. To access these initiatory teachings, sign up with the link in the description. A free copy of the Kybalion, the key to universal law, will be yours, but only while this opportunity lasts. The world ruled by Set is a world of fragmentation. It is a reality shattered into a million conflicting pieces. The ultimate act of Isis, the pinnacle of her magical power, is the sacred act of remembering. After Set murders and dismembers, Osiris scattering his 14 pieces across the land, it is Isis who undertakes the holy quest to find them. This is not just a story of a wife's devotion. It is the alchemical formula for healing a broken world and a broken self. This is the ultimate power of the divine feminine, to take that which is dead, scattered, and lost in chaos, and through love, wisdom, and will, make it whole, alive, and divine once more. Each piece of Osiris she finds is a reclamation of a lost principle. As she gathers his limbs, she is gathering the scattered masculine energy of the world, the lost courage, the broken will, the directionless power. She journeys into the darkest corners of the land, into the swamps and the shadows, unafraid. This teaches us that healing is not a clean, sanitary process. To become whole, you must be willing to go into the messy, forgotten parts of your own psyche, your shadow, and lovingly reclaim the pieces of yourself that you have abandoned there. The most profound part of this quest is the mystery of the 14th piece, the phallus, the creative principle, which was lost forever in the river and eaten by a fish. Isis cannot find it. This is crucial. It means the old way of creation, the old masculine energy, is gone. It cannot be salvaged from the past. A new one must be created. And so, Isis, the great magician, fashions a new phallus of gold, the metal of the gods, the symbol of divinity and incorruptibility. With this act, she is not just restoring Osiris, she is upgrading him. She teaches that the divine feminine doesn't just heal the masculine, it has the power to birth a new, higher form of it. It takes the raw, unconscious sexual energy that was lost in the waters of the unconscious and transmutes it into a conscious, golden, divine creative force. This is sacred sexual alchemy in its purest form. With the body remembered and the new creative principle in place, Isis performs the final act of her magic. She hovers over the body of her husband in the form of a kite, a sacred bird, and with the beating of her wings, she breathes the breath of life back into him. And in that same magical moment, she draws his seed into her, conceiving their son, Horus. This is not a normal conception. It is an immaculate conception, born not of physical lust, but of divine magic, will, and love. Isis is the womb of all creation, not just for bodies, but for consciousness itself. From the healed, integrated, and resurrected masculine, she births the new, unified consciousness, the Horus child, who will be strong enough to face the chaos of Set. This ancient story is the map for your own inner work. Inside every human being, regardless of gender, there is an inner masculine and an inner feminine. For most of us, living in the world of Set, our inner masculine is fragmented. It is our wounded will, our scattered focus, our repressed power, our inability to act with clear, divine purpose. To heal this, you must awaken your inner Isis. You must activate your own divine feminine principle, your intuition, your deep knowing, your ability to nurture, and your fierce, unconditional love for your own soul. You must be the one to go into your own shadows and find your lost pieces. You must have the courage to face your own brokenness. You must be the one to consciously transmute your raw, unconscious drives into golden, creative power. And you must be the one to remember yourself, to bring your fragmented parts back into a state of loving unity. When you do this, you resurrect the divine king within. And from that inner sacred union, a new consciousness is born in you, a centered, powerful, and clear-eyed awareness that is no longer a victim of chaos, but its master. The feminine is not here to serve the masculine. It is here to resurrect it. That is the power they tried to make you forget. The systems of patriarchy have sold you a lie about feminine power. They painted it as soft, gentle, passive, and yielding. And when it was not those things, they called it monstrous. The true Isis embodies the full spectrum, and that is why she is so dangerous to a world built on suppressing half of reality. She is not only the nurturing mother and the wise magician. She is the fierce, untamable protector. To forget this part of her is to forget her true power. After she remembers Osiris and conceives Horus, Isis is forced to go into hiding. She retreats to the papyrus swamps of the Nile Delta to raise her son in secret, for Set, the ruling king of chaos, is hunting the child who is destined to challenge his throne. In this phase of the myth, Isis is no longer just the seeker. She is the guardian. She is often depicted as a kite, a bird of prey, whose shrill cry is one of both grief and fierce determination. She is also likened to a lioness, the ultimate symbol of protective maternal rage. She is the mother who will stop at nothing to defend her child. This is not just a story. This is a teaching about the nature of awakening. Horus represents your newly born, higher consciousness. He is your awakened self, still young, vulnerable, and not yet fully powerful. Set represents all the forces, both internal and external, that seek to destroy that new awareness. He is your old programming, your addictions, your self-doubt, the cynical voices of the world, the distractions that try to pull you back into unconsciousness. The journey of Isis protecting Horus is the story of what is required after your initial spiritual breakthrough. Awakening is not the end of the battle. It is the beginning. Your fragile, new consciousness needs to be fiercely protected. And that protection comes from the Isis principle within you. This is the power of sacred feminine boundaries. The world has taught you that to be feminine is to be endlessly accommodating, to say yes, to smooth things over, to not make waves. To be assertive or angry is to be unfeminine or bitchy. This is a deliberate program of suppression. Isis teaches that a core aspect of the divine feminine is the power of the sacred no. The power to set unbreakable boundaries. The power to fight relentlessly for what is holy and true. Her fierceness is not aggression for its own sake. It is the protective fire that creates a safe space for the sacred to grow. When you learn to set powerful boundaries in your life, when you refuse to allow toxic energy, people or situations to drain your life force, you are invoking the protective magic of Isis. When you defend your time for spiritual practice, when you protect your energy from the chaos of the world, you are being the mother lioness, guarding your own divine child. Look also at her sacred rage. When Horus is stung by a scorpion, an agent of Set, and lies near death, Isis does not just weep. She stops the boat of Ra in the sky. She halts the entire cosmic order with the power of her grief and her rage, refusing to allow the universe to move on until her son is healed. This is not the rage of a petty ego. This is the sacred, world-stopping rage of the Divine Mother who will not tolerate injustice. It is the part of you that rises up when you see the innocent harmed, when you witness the desecration of nature, when you feel the profound wrongness of the world's suffering. That anger is not a sin. It is a divine signal. It is the protective energy of Isis telling you that a boundary has been crossed and that action is required. You have been taught to suppress this anger, to swallow it, to believe it is unspiritual. But suppressed rage becomes depression, apathy, and powerlessness. Acknowledged and channeled rage becomes a ferocious force for healing and change. Do not accept the watered down goddess. Do not accept the gentle, passive caricature they sold you. The true Isis is a goddess of paradoxes. She is the tears of the willow and the roar of the lioness. She is the wisdom of the scribe and the fire of the sorceress. She is the womb of creation and the warrior who defends it. To awaken your inner Isis is to reclaim all of these parts of yourself. It is to give yourself permission to be both soft and fierce, both loving and uncompromising, both intuitive and powerful. It is to understand that your sensitivity is not a weakness, it is the source of your magic. And your anger, when sacred, is not a flaw, it is the sword of your protection. The story of Isis is not a myth that belongs to the past. It is a living energy, a divine blueprint waiting to be embodied. But to truly understand why her full, powerful nature was so deliberately hidden, we must look at the war that was waged against her, a war that continues to this day. A war against the goddess and against the divine feminine soul of the world. Why was a goddess as beloved, powerful, and central as Isis so systematically dismantled? Why was her sovereignty, her magic, and her fierce nature erased, leaving behind only the palatable image of a grieving mother? Because the rise of the great patriarchal systems, religious, political, and social, required the death of the goddess. The divine feminine, in its true untamed form, is the single greatest threat to a power structure built on hierarchy, dogma, and the control of the masculine-only principle. A world that worships Isis is a world that values intuition over doctrine, compassion over rigid law, and the cyclical wisdom of nature over the linear ambition of conquest. That world had to be destroyed. The war was waged by fracturing her. They couldn't erase her completely. Her roots in the human psyche were too deep. So they broke her apart and scattered her attributes among other, safer figures, stripping them of their integrated power. Her role as the compassionate, interceding Divine Mother was projected onto Mother Mary in Christianity. But Mary was stripped of her fierce independence, her sexual power, and her profound magical abilities. She became a desexualized, submissive vessel, a perfect model for the role the new religion wanted women to play. Passive, obedient, and holy, only through her connection to a male son and a male god. The throne was taken from her. Her raw, creative, sexual power, the aspect that fashioned the golden phallus and conceived a god, was demonized. This untamed feminine energy was projected onto figures like Lilith, the defiant first wife of Adam, or the whore of Babylon. Sexuality, once a sacred tool of alchemy, was now a sinful, dangerous force to be controlled and shamed. The wise, magical woman became the witch. This was not a slow, accidental evolution. It was a war. The witch trials that raged for centuries were the final, brutal chapter in the suppression of Isis consciousness. What was a witch? A witch was simply a woman who had not forgotten her innate connection to the Isis principle. She was the healer who knew the secrets of herbs, the midwife who understood the sacred portal of birth, the seer who trusted her intuition, the woman who lived in tune with the cycles of the moon and the earth. She was a living remnant of the goddess, and for that she had to be burned. This campaign of terror was devastatingly effective. It drove feminine wisdom underground and programmed a deep, cellular fear into the collective psyche. Women learned that their power was dangerous. Their intuition was devilry. Their connection to nature was heresy. They learned to fear themselves. And the consequences of this great forgetting are the world you live in today, a world profoundly out of balance, a world that glorifies the relentless linear drive of the masculine principle, progress at all costs, profit over people, logic over love, while devaluing, exploiting, and suppressing the feminine. We have polluted our Mother Earth because we have forgotten she is a living being. We live in our heads, disconnected from the wisdom of our bodies and our emotions. We have created systems of breathtaking logical complexity that are entirely devoid of heart. We have built a world without a throne, a kingdom without a queen, and it is crumbling into the chaos of Set. The anxiety, the disconnection, the soullessness of modern life is a direct result of the murder of the goddess. We are a culture of scattered, fatherless children, longing for the mother we were taught to deny. But you can hear her call. The veil is thinning. The lie is becoming transparent. The suppression is failing. The goddess is returning. She is not returning in a physical form, descending from the sky. She is rising from within. She is rising in the millions of women and men who are beginning to question the patriarchal programming, who are reclaiming their intuition, who are honoring their emotions, who are seeking a spirituality that is embodied, cyclical, and connected to the earth. The global explosion of interest in the divine feminine, in sacred sexuality, in energy healing, in earth-based spirituality. This is not a New Age trend. This is the Great Remembering. This is Isis gathering her own scattered pieces from across the globe, from across the centuries, preparing for her own resurrection within the soul of humanity. The war against her was long and brutal, but she is patient, and her magic is stronger than any system built on fear. Her time has come again. So, how do you answer her call? How do you participate in the return of the Queen? You do not need to build a temple of stone. You must become the living temple. The awakening of your inner Isis is the most radical, world-changing act you can perform. It begins with the decision to reclaim every part of yourself that you were taught to shame, suppress, or deny. You start by honoring your intuition as a sacred sense. You stop dismissing your gut feelings, your subtle knowings, your dreams. You begin to treat them as your most trusted compass, your direct line to divine wisdom. You listen, you trust, and you act on that knowing, even when the logical world calls you crazy. This is the first step in reclaiming your magic. Next, you embrace the full spectrum of your emotions. You unlearn the lie that to be spiritual is to be perpetually calm and positive. Isis wept, she raged, she loved with a ferocious intensity. Your emotions are not weaknesses. They are sources of power and information. Your grief connects you to the heart of the world. Your anger, when sacred, is a fire that can purify and protect. Your joy is a creative force. To embody Isis is to feel everything fully, without judgment, allowing the energy to move through you, inform you, and transform you. You also reclaim your body as a sacred vessel, not an object to be perfected or a temptation to be controlled. You listen to its rhythms, you honor its needs, you see its connection to the cycles of the earth and the moon. You reclaim your sexuality not as an act of consumption or shame, but as a potential gateway to the divine, a sacred force of creation to be wielded with consciousness, love, and respect. This is how you begin to fashion your own golden phallus, your own conscious creative power. To awaken your inner Isis is to become the fierce protector of your own sacred space. You learn to set powerful, loving boundaries. You say no to that which drains your life force. You stop tolerating relationships, jobs, and environments that dishonor your soul. You protect your energy with the ferocity of a lioness guarding her cub. This is not selfish. It is the necessary act of creating the safe, consecrated ground where your own inner Horus, your new, higher consciousness, can grow. And perhaps most importantly, you reclaim your sovereignty. You sit on your own inner throne. You stop looking outside of yourself for a savior, a guru, a system to tell you who you are or what is true. You become your own authority. You trust that the foundation of all wisdom, all power, all magic resides within your own being. This is the path. It is a path of integration, of courage, of radical self-love. And as you walk it, you will notice the world around you begin to shift. You will no longer be a victim of its chaos. You will become a weaver of a new reality. You will attract others who resonate with this rising frequency. You will become a beacon, a quiet source of strength and wisdom for a world that is desperately thirsty for the return of the Mother. The final, hidden truth is this. The throne of Isis is not a historical artifact or a seat of external power. It is your own aligned, energetic core. To sit on the throne is to be perfectly centered in your body, in your heart, in your divine, sovereign truth. From that place, you are unshakable. From that place, you can remember worlds. The kingdom has been without its queen for too long. It is time for her to rise again, within you. If these words have stirred a deep memory within you, know that this is just the beginning. The practical path of feminine magic and initiation goes deeper than we can explore here. Our newsletter, Insights Academy, is where we share these hidden teachings. Sign up with the link in the description to continue your journey and receive a free copy of the Kybalion. The goddess has returned, not to be worshipped, but to be embodied. She is the love that heals, the magic that creates, and the wisdom that guides. And she is calling you home to the throne within your own heart. If this video resonated with you, let us know by commenting. I understood it.